The crystalline chamber floated in the void, orbiting a neutron star that pulsed with rhythmic light. Inside the massive structure, representatives from 47 civilizations sat in their designated alcoves, each species adapted to their own atmospheric conditions behind transparent barriers. The Galactic Council had stood for 3,000 years, maintaining peace across 12 galaxies through diplomacy, trade agreements, and the occasional show of unified force. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood at the center platform, her simple gray suit a stark contrast to the elaborate robes and bioluminescent displays of the other delegates. She carried a small data tablet, nothing more. Behind her, 2 human aides waited silently, their faces neutral and professional. They had traveled 3 months to reach this place, and everything humanity had worked toward for 50 years would be decided in the next hour. The council speaker, a towering Vrelian named Kortschal, gestured with 3 of his 4 arms. His species had been spacefaring for 5 millennia, and it showed in his bearing. The representative from Earth may present her petition for full council membership, he announced. His voice translated instantly into hundreds of languages through neural implants. Sarah stepped forward. She had rehearsed this moment countless times, but now that it was here, she felt the weight of 8 billion souls pressing down on her shoulders. Honored council members, she began, her voice steady. Humanity comes before you today seeking recognition as equals in this galactic community. We have followed every protocol, met every requirement, and demonstrated our commitment to peaceful coexistence. A ripple of movement passed through the chamber. The Zephyr collective representatives, beings of pure energy contained in crystalline matrices, pulsed with what their translator rendered as polite interest. The insectoid creche clicked their mandibles in a pattern that meant acknowledgement, but Sarah noticed the subtle signs of dismissal too. The Vrelian delegation's eye stalks drooping slightly, the way the reptilian Saurian ambassador had already begun reviewing other documents. However, Sarah continued, and something in her tone made several delegates look up, we feel obligated to provide context that your observers may have missed. Humanity has been deliberately restraining certain aspects of our civilization during your observation period. Kortschal's eye stalks rose with curiosity. Restraining? Please elaborate. Sarah touched her tablet and holographic displays materialized throughout the chamber. Images of Earth appeared. Cities, farmland, oceans, the pale moon. My species evolved on a death world by galactic standards. Higher gravity than 70% of council worlds. A star that bombards our planet with radiation. Weather systems that regularly produce catastrophic storms. Tectonic activity that causes devastating earthquakes. Many species evolve in harsh conditions, interrupted Takora, a Zephyr collective representative. Their crystalline form pulsed with dismissive orange light. This does not warrant special consideration. I'm not asking for special consideration, Sarah replied calmly. I'm providing context. Humanity developed under unique pressures. Our evolution was shaped by constant competition, not just with other species, but with each other. For most of our history, humans fought humans. We developed sophisticated warfare, complex strategies, and technologies designed specifically to overcome opponents who thought exactly like us. A murmur spread through the chamber. The creche ambassador leaned forward, antennae twitching. You speak of your world wars. We have reviewed these records. They demonstrate concerning levels of aggression and primitive brutality. Sarah nodded slowly. Yes, and we learned from them. 50 years ago, when your scout ships first made contact, humanity made a choice. We decided to show you the civilization we had become, not the warriors we had been. We hid our military capabilities. We downplayed our technological advancement. We presented ourselves as peaceful explorers because we genuinely wanted to join you as friends, not conquerors. Kortschal's forearms crossed in a gesture of skepticism. You claim to have hidden your true nature? Your technology appears 200 years behind galactic standards. Your fleet consists of research vessels and transports. Your worlds are barely defended. This seems less like restraint and more like limitation. That's the warning I came to deliver, Sarah said quietly. What you've observed is what we chose to show you. We hoped that by approaching peacefully, by demonstrating our commitment to cooperation, you would accept us as we are now, not as we were. We hoped you wouldn't need to see what humanity is actually capable of. Laughter rippled through parts of the chamber. Takora's crystal pulsed with amused yellow light. The human exhibits impressive confidence. Perhaps this is the bluffing behavior noted in your psychological profiles. Sarah's expression didn't change. I have been authorized to warn you 3 times. This is the first warning. Humanity has been holding back. We have technologies and capabilities that we have deliberately kept hidden. We have military doctrines developed through 10,000 years of warfare. We have weapons we've never used, kept in reserve as deterrence. We are not asking you to fear us. We're asking you to understand that our peaceful approach is a choice, not a weakness. The Saurian ambassador, General Vexthor, spoke for the first time. His species was one of the few warrior cultures on the council. Young human, every species claims hidden strength when seeking advantage. It is a common negotiating tactic. The council requires evidence, not assertions. I'm not negotiating, Sarah said. I'm warning you. If you accept our membership application, you'll never need to see that evidence. We'll continue as we've begun. Peaceful, cooperative, and restrained. But if you reject us, if you attempt to subjugate or control humanity, you will discover exactly what we've been holding back. Kortchal raised one hand for silence. The human statements are noted, but they do not address the fundamental issue. Your species shows signs of instability. Your history of internal conflict is troubling. Your technological development is insufficient. He paused, consulting with other delegates through private channels. After a moment, he continued. The Council has reviewed your application. We find that humanity is not yet ready for full membership. However, we offer an alternative, protectorate status. You will fall under Council authority. Your military will be integrated into Council defense forces. Your resources will be shared. Your development will be guided by more experienced civilizations. In exchange, you receive protection and access to galactic trade. Sarah felt her stomach drop. This was the scenario Earth Command had feared most. And if we refuse this generous offer? She asked, though she already knew the answer. Then humanity remains outside Council protection, Takora said, their crystal now pulsing red. Economic sanctions will be imposed. Your colonies will be restricted. Your ships will be denied access to Council space lanes. You will be isolated until you reconsider. Sarah looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes and optical sensors of dozens of species. She saw pity in some faces, indifference in others, and calculation in a few. They had already decided. Nothing she could say would change their minds. They saw humanity as children playing at civilization, primitives who needed guidance. This is the second warning, Sarah said softly. We tried to do this peacefully. We tried to join you as friends, but you're forcing our hand. Dramatic pronouncements do not change reality, Kortchal replied. You have 30 days to accept protectorate status. This session is concluded. As the chamber began to empty, Sarah stood alone on the platform. She touched her tablet and sent a single encrypted message back to Earth. Pandora Protocol. Prepare for revelation. The galaxy had made its choice. Soon it would understand the cost of that decision. Humanity had warned them. Humanity had tried. Now the galaxy would learn what 8 billion survivors of countless wars had been holding back all along. The warning had been delivered, 3 times as promised. Now came the consequences. The United Nations headquarters in Geneva had changed very little in the century since humanity first detected alien signals. The same flags still hung in the main assembly hall, though now they represented a unified Earth rather than separate nations. President Marcus Okonkwo sat in the Situation Room 3 floors below ground, surrounded by holographic displays and military advisors who looked far too calm for what was happening. The Vrelian fleet just entered New Horizons system, General Zhao announced, highlighting a sector of space 12 light-years from Earth. 3 battle cruisers and 14 support vessels. They're broadcasting Council authority codes and demanding immediate compliance with security protocols. What kind of protocols? Okonkwo asked, though he suspected he already knew. Admiral Kowalski, commander of Earth's actual military forces, pulled up a document. They want our colony defense systems deactivated. All civilian ships grounded. Council inspectors given full access to our facilities, databases, and communications. They're also demanding 20% of the colony's refined deuterium as administrative fees. They're treating us like conquered territory, Okonkwo said quietly. They really think we're helpless. On another screen, Ambassador Chen appeared via quantum link from her diplomatic ship. She looked tired. They're not being malicious, Mr. President. They genuinely believe they're helping us. The Council has maintained peace for 3,000 years using these exact methods. Protectorate species always resist at first, then come to appreciate Council guidance. They think we're following a predictable pattern. What they don't understand, Zhao interjected, is that humanity's pattern is very different. Okonkwo leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples. For 50 years, Earth had maintained the carefully constructed image of a peaceful, technologically limited species. The massive underground shipyards had been disguised as mining operations. The weapons research facilities had been labeled as particle physics laboratories. The fleet of 4,000 warships had been scattered across the solar system, camouflaged as asteroids research stations and commercial haulers. It had been the greatest deception in human history, and it had all been for a simple goal: join the galactic community peacefully, without triggering the fear and hostility that would come if the galaxy knew what humanity really was. "Get me Administrator Walsh at New Horizon," Okonkwo ordered. A moment later, a middle-aged woman appeared on screen. Behind her, red emergency lights flashed. "Mr. President, the Vrelian commander is getting impatient. He says we have 1 hour to begin compliance or they'll take necessary enforcement action. I've tried to explain that we need to consult with Earth Command, but he keeps saying that's not how protectorates work." "Where's the Vrelian flagship now?" Kowalski asked. 300,000 kilometers out, closing slowly. They've powered up weapons as a demonstration. Standard intimidation tactic according to our cultural database. Walsh's expression was steady, but Okonkwo could see the tension in her shoulders. "Sir, what are your orders?" This was the moment. Everything changed after this. Once humanity showed its true capabilities, there would be no going back. The galaxy would see them as they really were, a species forged in 10,000 years of warfare, whose peace was hard-won and whose restraint was a choice, not a limitation. "Tell the Vrelian commander that we're consulting with our government," Okonkwo said. "Buy us time." "Admiral Kowalski, what assets do we have in that sector?" Kowalski smiled grimly. "The transport ship Resilient is 30,000 kilometers from the Vrelian fleet. It's listed in Council databases as a civilian freight hauler, and in reality, modified Valkyrie-class frigate, full military retrofit hidden behind cargo containers, quantum torpedoes, point defense grid, electronic warfare suite, and an AI tactical system that can track and target every ship in that fleet simultaneously." Kowalski paused. "Sir, if they fire on it, the Resilient's automated defense systems will activate. We won't be able to hide what it really is." Okonkwo made his decision. "Contact the Resilient. Tell them to maintain civilian protocols unless fired upon. If the Vrelians attack, they are authorized to defend themselves using all available capabilities. That will reveal everything," Chen warned from her display. "Maybe that's what needs to happen," Okonkwo replied. "We tried peace. We tried honesty. We warned them. They chose not to listen." In orbit around New Horizon, the Vrelian commander Sektar watched the small human transport ship on his displays with mild interest. His tactical officer had flagged it as the only nearby vessel, and Sektar had decided it would serve as an excellent demonstration. The humans needed to learn their place, and nothing taught that lesson faster than watching one of their ships disabled by superior firepower. "Charge forward disruptors," Sektar ordered. "Aim for the transport's engine section. Minimum power. We want to disable, not destroy." "Target locked, Commander," his weapons officer confirmed. "Fire." A lance of blue energy streaked across the void, standard Council protocol for enforcing compliance. The shot was precise, calibrated to disable the transport's engines without causing casualties. Sektar had performed this maneuver dozens of times with other Protectorate species. They always surrendered immediately afterward. The transport ship's transponder identified it as the Resilient. Registry from Earth. Sektar watched, expecting to see the vessel's engines die and emergency lights activate. Instead, something impossible happened. The Resilient's cargo containers split apart like flower petals, revealing a sleek warship beneath. Point defense turrets emerged from hidden bays and intercepted the disruptor beam in mid-flight, dissipating it harmlessly. Then the ship rotated with impossible speed and activated systems that Sektar's sensors couldn't identify. "What is that?" his tactical officer gasped. "Those readings don't match any known human technology." On the Resilience bridge, Captain Maria Santos watched her tactical display with professional calm. "All right, they shot first. Defensive protocols authorized. Take out their weapons systems. Non-lethal targeting only. Her AI assistant, a sophisticated quantum computer named Athens, responded instantly. Targeting solutions calculated, engaging. What happened next lasted exactly 4 seconds. The Resilient fired weapons that the Vrelians had no name for. Quantum torpedoes that existed in superposition until they struck, making them impossible to intercept. Electron beam cannons that disabled shields without damaging hulls. And electromagnetic pulse missiles that fried targeting computers while leaving life support intact. The Vrelian flagship's weapons went offline. Every single one. The ship's shields flickered and died. Secondary systems failed. The mighty battlecruiser, pride of the Vrelian Empire, drifted helplessly in space, its crew unharmed but completely unable to fight. Sektar stared at his dead console in shock. "What just happened?" he whispered. Santos opened a communication channel. "Vrelian vessel, this is Captain Santos of the Earth ship Resilient. You fired on a civilian transport in violation of Council regulations. We have disabled your weapons in self-defense. Your crew is unharmed. I suggest you withdraw from this system and report to your superiors that humanity is not as helpless as you believed." On Earth, Okonkwo watched the engagement through quantum-linked cameras. The entire fight had lasted 4 seconds. One human ship disguised as a freighter had neutralized a Vrelian battlecruiser without breaking a sweat. "Send a message to all council members," he ordered. "Full transparency. Show them what just happened, and then activate Pandora Protocol. It's time the galaxy learned the truth." Admiral Kowalski pulled up a master display showing the solar system. Thousands of contacts appeared, each one a hidden military vessel. "Sir, once we reveal the fleet, we can't hide it again." "I know," Okonkwo said. Chen warned them 3 times. "We tried to do this peacefully, but the Council forced our hand. Now they'll learn what humanity has been holding back." Across human space, encrypted signals went out. Mining stations transformed, revealing battleships. Research outposts activated military-grade sensors. Commercial haulers dropped their disguises, showing the warships they had always been. In the asteroid belt, entire rocks split apart, revealing hidden shipyards that had been producing vessels for decades. The galaxy had assumed humanity was weak because they appeared weak. They had mistaken restraint for limitation. They had confused mercy for inability. Now, as 4,000 warships revealed themselves across dozens of star systems, the galaxy would learn its first lesson about humanity. When humans said they were holding back, they meant it. And the worst part, the part that would terrify the Council most of all, these 4,000 ships were still only part of humanity's strength. The really dangerous weapons, the ones that kept human military commanders awake at night, those remained hidden, because some things were too terrible to reveal unless absolutely necessary. The misunderstanding was over. The revelation had begun. The Zephyr Collective's peacekeeping fleet emerged from quantum space at the edge of the New Horizon system, exactly 14 hours after the Vrelian battlecruiser went dark. Commander Zexthal, a being of pure energy contained within an ornate crystalline matrix, pulsed with confident blue light as he surveyed the tactical situation. 300 ships. The largest peacekeeping force the Council had assembled in 800 years. Battleships, carriers, cruisers, and enough firepower to pacify a dozen rebellious systems. They had come to remind humanity of its place, to show these aggressive newcomers that Council authority was absolute. "Scan the system," Zexthal ordered. His thoughts transmitted instantly to every ship in the fleet. "Locate the human vessels." His sensor officer, a Kresh named Kliktar, worked his console with rapid movements of his 6 limbs. "Commander, I'm detecting 12 human ships in orbit around the colony world. They appear to be the same civilian-grade vessels that disabled the Vrelian flagship." 12 ships? Zexthal pulsed with amused orange. They send 12 ships against 300? Either they are foolishly brave or genuinely delusional about their capabilities. "The human vessels are broadcasting a message," the communications officer reported. "It's being sent on all channels directed at us specifically." "Display it." A human appeared on the main view screen. Male, dark-skinned, wearing a uniform that resembled nothing in Council military databases. His expression was calm, almost sad. "Zephyr Fleet, this is Admiral Kowalski of the Earth Defense Force. I'm going to tell you the same thing Ambassador Chen told the Council. Humanity has been holding back. We have been restraining our capabilities because we wanted to join your community peacefully. You have interpreted our restraint as weakness. That was a mistake, Zexthal pulsed with dismissive red, typical protectorate posturing. But Kowalski continued, and something in his voice made several bridge officers stop what they were doing. I'm going to give you one chance. One opportunity to turn your fleet around and report back to the Council that you encountered resistance beyond your expectations. Tell them humanity was honest about holding back. Tell them to reconsider. Or what? Zexthal transmitted back, unable to help himself. Kowalski's expression didn't change. Or you'll learn exactly what 8 billion survivors of 10,000 years of warfare are capable of. We told you we were holding back. Now you'll see what that means. Zexthal cut the transmission. Foolish primitives. All ships advance in standard formation. Weapons charged. Shields at maximum. We'll disable their vessels and take the system. Then we'll show them what real power looks like. The Zephyr fleet moved forward, a wall of 300 warships representing the combined military might of the galaxy's most advanced civilization. They had shields that could withstand direct hits from stellar flares, weapons that could crack planets, sensors that could track a single ship across light years. They were completely unprepared for what humanity had developed. Admiral, the Zephyr fleet is advancing, reported Lieutenant Chen from her station aboard the Earthship Defiant. They're in Standard Council Formation Delta 7, predictable by the book tactics. Kowalski nodded slowly. The Defiant's bridge was smaller than the Zephyr flagship, more cramped, more utilitarian. But every station was operated by humans who had spent their lives studying warfare, trained in academies that taught the lessons of Thermopylae, Stalingrad, Midway, and 1,000 other battles. The Council had been at peace for 3,000 years. Humanity had been at war for 10,000. That difference was about to become very clear. Time to end this, Kowalski said quietly. All ships execute Protocol Achilles. Non-lethal targeting only. Disable their vessels, protect their crews. Show them what we can do. But show them mercy too. Maybe then they'll understand. Aye, sir. All ships acknowledge. Protocol Achilles is active. The 12 human vessels broke formation, and the Zephyr fleet's sensors immediately tagged them as fleeing. Zexthal pulsed with satisfied purple. They run. As expected, all ships pursue and disable. Then everything went wrong at once. The 12 human ships weren't fleeing. They were positioning. Each vessel activated systems that the Zephyr scanners couldn't properly read, technology that operated on principles the Council had never explored. Quantum entanglement communicators allowed all 12 ships to coordinate as a single organism, making tactical decisions in microseconds. AI-assisted targeting computers tracked every Zephyr vessel simultaneously, and weapons unlike anything in the Galactic database came online. The first Zephyr battleship died without understanding what killed it. Not destroyed but disabled. A quantum torpedo, existing in superposition until the moment of impact, bypassed its shields entirely and detonated inside the ship's engine room. The explosion was carefully calibrated. Enough force to destroy the engines, not enough to breach the hull. The battleship went dark, life support intact, crew shaken but alive. 4 seconds later, 20 more Zephyr ships suffered the same fate. What is happening? Zexthal demanded, his crystalline form pulsing with shocked white light. How are they penetrating our shields? The torpedoes aren't penetrating, Commander. Kliktar reported, his voice edged with panic. They're quantum weapons. They bypass the shields because they don't exist in normal space until impact. We have no defense against this. All ships, evasive maneuvers. Return fire. The Zephyr fleet tried. They were experienced warriors, well-trained and disciplined. But they had been trained for Council-style warfare. Orderly formations, predictable tactics, warfare conducted according to established rules. Humanity had no such limitations. The 12 human ships moved in patterns that made no tactical sense by Council standards. They appeared to be chaos, random movements without coordination. But each ship was making independent decisions, adapting to the battlefield in real time, using tactics developed by a species that had spent millennia fighting itself. Every human captain thought differently, reacted differently, attacked differently. There was no predictable pattern to counter. The Zephyr fleet's weapons fired, powerful disruptor beams that could slice through most shields. The human ships simply weren't there when the beams arrived. Point defense systems, faster and more accurate than anything the Council had developed, intercepted incoming fire with perfect precision. When the Zephyr ships tried to launch missiles, electronic warfare systems took control of them mid-flight and sent them tumbling harmlessly into space. 10 minutes into the battle, 100 Zephyr ships were disabled. Drifting, powerless, their crews alive but helpless. The remaining 200 tried to reorganize, but the human ships gave them no time. They struck like wolves, coordinated yet independent, each one a deadly threat on its own. Zexthal watched his fleet fall apart and finally understood what Ambassador Chen had been trying to tell them. This wasn't a battle between peers. This was a lesson. The humans could have destroyed his fleet. Every disabled ship could have been a kill. Every crew could have been casualties. But the humans were deliberately holding back even now, fighting to disable rather than destroy. "Recall all ships," Zexthal ordered, his light pulsing with defeated gray. "Signal retreat. This battle is over." "Commander, we still have 200 operational vessels," his tactical officer protested. "We outnumber them 20 to 1. And we've lost a third of our fleet in 14 minutes without causing a single casualty to the enemy," Zexthal replied. "Don't you understand? They're not fighting us. They're teaching us. Every ship they've disabled could have been destroyed. Every crew member could be dead. They're showing mercy while demonstrating superiority. If we continue, they might stop holding back." The Zephyr fleet began its retreat, leaving behind 100 disabled vessels that would be recovered later. The human ships didn't pursue. They simply held position, watching the Council fleet limp away. On the Defiance Bridge, Kowalski watched them go with mixed feelings. "Status report. All ships green across the board, sir. 0 damage, 0 casualties. 117 enemy vessels disabled, 0 enemy casualties. The remaining Zephyr ships are retreating at maximum speed." Kowalski nodded. "Send a message to President Okonkwo. Tell him the demonstration was successful. Then broadcast our full military specifications to all Council members. No more hiding. No more pretending. Let them see exactly what humanity has been holding back." Across the galaxy, Council members received the data package simultaneously. Technical specifications for ships decades ahead of their own. Weapon systems they couldn't understand. Military doctrines developed through 10,000 years of competitive warfare. Population figures that showed humanity had over 8 billion individuals, each one descended from survivors of countless conflicts, and buried in the data, carefully included, images from Earth's history. The trenches of World War I, the mushroom clouds of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the ruins of cities that had been destroyed and rebuilt a dozen times, a visual history of a species that had nearly destroyed itself and chose instead to survive. The Council had studied those wars before and called them primitive barbarism. Now they understood. Those weren't examples of human weakness. They were examples of human restraint. A species that developed nuclear weapons and chose not to use them to extinction. A species that learned cooperation after experiencing the alternative. The Vrelian Imperial Council chamber reeked of wounded pride and barely contained rage. Emperor Calvek sat upon his crystalline throne, all 4 eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the humiliating defeat at New Horizon. Around him, military commanders and political advisors argued in raised voices, their anger filling the massive hall. "One ship," War Minister Dekmar roared, slamming 3 of his hands on the table. "One disguised freighter disabled our finest battlecruiser in 4 seconds, and then 12 of their vessels destroyed a third of the Zephyr fleet without taking a single hit. The humans deceived us," Calvek said, his voice cold. "For 50 years they pretended to be weak, primitive, harmless. They made fools of us before the entire galaxy. This cannot stand." "My Emperor," cautioned Ambassador Torval, "perhaps we should reconsider." The humans demonstrated remarkable restraint. They could have destroyed our ships but chose to disable them. They could have killed our crews but left them unharmed. Perhaps this is an opportunity for negotiation. Negotiation? Calvek stood, his full height imposing even among his own kind. The Vrelian Empire does not negotiate from a position of weakness. The humans have revealed advanced technology, yes, but we have 12 allied species willing to support us. Together we command 8,000 warships. The humans have shown us 4,000. Mathematics favors us. But their technology, Torval began. Technology can be countered, Dekmar interrupted. We've analyzed their quantum torpedoes. We've studied their point defense systems. We understand their electronic warfare capabilities. Yes, they're advanced, but they're not invincible. With sufficient numbers and proper tactics, we can overwhelm them. What you're suggesting is war, Torvald said quietly. Total war against a species we barely understand. A species that has been holding back, by their own admission. What if there are more surprises? What if the technology they've shown us is just another layer of deception? Calvex's eyes narrowed. Then we force them to reveal everything. We strike their home system. We threaten Earth itself. If they have more weapons, more capabilities, they'll have to use them to defend their homeworld. And when they do, we'll know their full strength. And if their full strength is beyond what we can handle, Torvald pressed. Then we were never safe anyway, Calvex replied. Better to face them now while we have numerical advantage than to wait while they build more ships and perfect their deceptions. The Council voted. 12 species stand with us. We march to war. On Earth, President Okonkwo stood in the war room studying the reports flooding in from Council space. The Vrelian Empire had issued a formal declaration of war. 12 allied species had pledged their support. A combined fleet of 8,000 vessels was being assembled at the edge of Council space, preparing to advance on human territory. They're serious about this, Admiral Kowalski said, highlighting fleet movements on the tactical display. 3 battle groups converging from different vectors. They're planning a 3-pronged assault on our outer colonies, with the main thrust aimed at Sol system. Classic overwhelming force doctrine. They still think they can win with numbers, General Zhao observed, even after New Horizon. They're counting on us having limits, Ambassador Chen said via quantum link. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes. They've analyzed our technology and convinced themselves it can be countered. They think if they throw enough ships at us, they'll break through. Okonkwo rubbed his temples. How many ships do we have total? Including reserves? 4,000 fully operational warships, Kowalski replied. Another 3,000 in various stages of construction. We can have them combat-ready in 6 months. We don't have 6 months. The Vrelian fleet will reach our outer colonies in 3 weeks. Okonkwo looked at the faces around him, military leaders who had spent their entire lives preparing for this exact scenario. Options? Kowalski pulled up a new display. We can fight defensively, use our superior technology and training to inflict heavy casualties while falling back to more defensible positions. It'll work, but it means sacrificing the colonies. Unacceptable, Okonkwo said flatly. Option 2. We activate offensive protocols. Stop holding back. Show them what human warfare actually looks like when we're not trying to be merciful. Kowalski paused. That means casualties, Mr. President. Potentially significant casualties on their side. They're the ones who declared war, Zhao pointed out. We warned them. Multiple times. At some point, their deaths are on their own heads. Okonkwo felt the weight of the decision crushing down on him. 4,000 human ships against 8,000 council vessels. Superior technology against numerical advantage. And buried in humanity's arsenal. Weapons so terrible they had never been tested in combat. Relativistic kill vehicles that could crack planets. Antimatter warheads that could sterilize star systems. Grey Goose scenarios that could consume entire fleets. We're still holding back, aren't we? He asked quietly. Yes, sir, Kowalski confirmed. We haven't used our planet-killer weapons. We haven't deployed our relativistic arsenal. We haven't activated our deadliest AI systems. We've been fighting with conventional arms by galactic standards. Then let's show them what unconventional looks like. But Admiral, I want rules of engagement that minimize casualties. We're not genocidal. We're not going to slaughter them just because we can. We're going to fight smart, fight hard, and fight to win. But we're going to do it our way. Understood, sir. I'll brief the fleet commanders. 3 weeks later, the Vrelian coalition fleet entered the Arcturus system, home to humanity's largest colony outside Sol. They expected fierce resistance. They expected technological superiority. They were prepared for quantum torpedoes, electronic warfare, and advanced point defense systems. They were not prepared for humans who had stopped holding back. The battle began at 600 hours Galactic Standard Time. The coalition fleet, 8,000 strong, emerged from quantum space in perfect formation. Vrelian battleships at the center, Kresh carriers on the flanks, Saurian cruisers providing support. It was textbook Council military doctrine, refined over 3,000 years. The human fleet was waiting for them. Not 4,000 ships, but 600. The coalition commanders saw this and felt confident. Overwhelming numbers would carry the day. Then the humans attacked, and everything the coalition thought they understood about warfare became irrelevant. The human ships didn't fight in formation. They fought as individual units, each captain making independent tactical decisions. They moved in patterns that seemed random, but were actually hyper-efficient, positioning based on real-time AI calculations that processed millions of variables per second. They didn't just target ships. They targeted specific systems with surgical precision. Avrelian battleships' shields would suddenly collapse as quantum torpedoes materialized inside the generator rooms. Engines would die as kinetic penetrators traveling at 0.7 light speed punched through armor that shouldn't have been penetrable. Command and control systems would fail as electronic warfare attacks, far more sophisticated than anything shown at New Horizon, took over entire networks. But the truly terrifying part was the coordination. Every human ship was connected through quantum-entangled communication networks, sharing targeting data, tactical information, and real-time analysis. They fought as one organism with 600 bodies, each body capable of independent action but all working toward the same goal. The coalition fleet tried to adapt. They broke formation, attempting to match humanity's fluid tactics. It didn't work. The humans had been doing this for 10,000 years, fighting themselves, learning from every battle, refining their doctrine against opponents who thought exactly like they did. The coalition species had been at peace for 3,000 years, their tactics unchanged and predictable. Within 2 hours, the coalition had lost 2,000 ships. Not destroyed, but disabled so thoroughly they would need months in dry dock to become operational again. The humans had taken 17 casualties, all of them survivable damage. The mathematics were horrifying. Fall back, War Minister Dekmar ordered from his flagship. All ships, retreat to Rally Point Epsilon. But the humans didn't let them retreat cleanly. They harried the coalition fleet, striking at stragglers, disabling ships that fell behind, not out of cruelty but out of tactical necessity. Every ship they disabled now was one less ship they'd have to fight later. The coalition fleet, or what remained of it, limped back to Council space having lost a quarter of their forces without inflicting meaningful damage on the enemy, and they had learned a terrible truth. Humanity had still been holding back at New Horizon. The mercy they showed then had hidden the full scope of their capabilities. In the war room on Earth, Okonkwo watched the aftermath reports with a heavy heart. 2,000 coalition ships disabled, estimated 40,000 enemy personnel captured or stranded in disabled vessels. 0 coalition deaths because humanity had fought with precision and restraint even in TA. The crystalline halls of the Vrelian Imperial Palace were silent, except for the sound of Emperor Calvex's footsteps. He walked alone through corridors lined with the banners of 1,000 victories, monuments to an empire that had stood for 6,000 years. Now those banners felt like relics of a bygone age. Behind him, War Minister Dekmar struggled to keep pace. My Emperor, the military council is waiting. We need to discuss our response to the latest defeat. There is no response, Calvex said quietly. We've thrown 8,000 ships at them. They've disabled or destroyed 6,000. We've inflicted damage on perhaps 300 human vessels. None of them total losses. We're not fighting a war. We're being systematically dismantled by a superior opponent. Then we use our strategic reserves. We call in forces from— No. Calvex stopped walking and turned to face his war minister. Look at these reports, Dekmar. Really look at them. The humans have revealed weapons we can't defend against. Relativistic kill vehicles traveling at near light speed, antimatter warheads, self-replicating nanomachine swarms. And according to our intelligence, they haven't used any of these weapons. They're bluffing. Are they? Calvex pulled up a holographic display showing the Battle of Arcturus. Watch this. Carefully. Every human attack is precisely calibrated. They disable our engines without breaching hulls. They destroy our weapons without killing our crews. They're fighting with restraint while defeating us decisively. They're showing us mercy, Dekmar, and that mercy is more terrifying than any weapon. Dekmar's 3 eyes widened as understanding dawned. Because if they can afford to be merciful while winning, then they're holding back even now, Calvex finished. Ambassador Chen warned us 3 times. She told us humanity was restraining itself. We thought it was a bluff. We were wrong. The question now is, do we continue this futile war until they stop being merciful, or do we accept defeat with our civilization intact? The Council will never agree to surrender. Then I'll ask for terms myself, alone, as the one who pushed for this war. Calvex straightened his formal robes. Send a message to Earth. Tell them Emperor Calvex requests an audience with President Okonkwo. Tell them I'm ready to discuss ceasefire. On Earth, in the rebuilt council chambers that now floated in orbit around humanity's homeworld, representatives from 47 civilizations gathered once more. The atmosphere was very different from the last meeting. Where before there had been dismissiveness and arrogance, now there was fear and uncertainty. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood at the center platform again, but this time she wasn't alone. Behind her, Admiral Kowalski in full military dress, General Zhao representing ground forces, and a dozen other human military leaders. The message was clear. Humanity was no longer asking permission. They were negotiating from strength. The Council recognizes Ambassador Chen of Earth, Takora announced, their crystalline form pulsing with subdued blue light. The Zephyr Collective had lost any trace of their former condescension. Thank you, Council Speaker, Chen said formally. I stand before you today not in celebration, but in sorrow. We warned you, multiple times. We told you humanity was holding back, that our peaceful approach was a choice, not a weakness. You chose not to believe us. The Vrelian Empire chose to test our resolve. 6,000 coalition ships have been disabled or destroyed. Estimated 200,000 military personnel are currently in human custody, awaiting repatriation. And through all of this, humanity has fought with restraint. Restraint. General Vexthor, the Saurian representative, spoke up. His species had lost 700 ships in the war. You call the systematic destruction of our fleets restraint? Yes, Chen replied simply. She activated a holographic display showing casualty figures. Total coalition deaths, 417. Most of those from ships that self-destructed rather than surrender. Every other crew member was captured alive or evacuated before their vessels were disabled. We could have killed hundreds of thousands. We chose not to. That is restraint. The chamber fell silent as the representatives absorbed this information. 400 deaths out of 200,000 captured. The humans had been fighting a war while actively trying to preserve enemy lives. Why? Takora asked, genuine confusion in their pulsing light. In every military doctrine we know, the goal of warfare is to eliminate the enemy's ability to fight by any means necessary. Why would you burden yourselves with preserving enemy lives? Chen smiled sadly. Because we learned, through 10,000 years of hard experience, that today's enemy might be tomorrow's ally. Because every person we kill is someone's child, parent, or friend. Because warfare, for all its necessity, should never become casual slaughter. She paused. And because we remember what it was like when we fought ourselves without restraint. We don't want to be those humans anymore. Emperor Calvex entered the chamber, his arrival causing a stir among the assembled delegates. He looked diminished somehow despite his impressive stature. He approached the platform where Chen stood and performed a full formal bow, all four arms extended in the Vrelian gesture of absolute respect. Ambassador Chen, he said, his voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. On behalf of the Vrelian Empire and our allies, I formally request cessation of hostilities. We acknowledge that we were wrong to challenge humanity. We were wrong to dismiss your warnings. We were wrong to believe your restraint indicated weakness. He straightened, meeting her eyes directly. We ask for terms. Chen looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. President Okonkwo has authorized me to negotiate. Our terms are simple. Immediate ceasefire, return of all captured human personnel, and formal recognition of humanity as a full council member with all rights and privileges thereof. And what tribute do you demand? Calvex asked. What systems must we cede? What reparations must we pay? None, Chen said simply. We're not interested in conquest or revenge. We never were. We just wanted to be treated as equals. The chamber erupted in confused murmurs. No victor in recorded galactic history had ever asked for so little. Takora pulsed with astonished yellow light. You defeated the largest military coalition in 3,000 years, and you ask only for what you requested peacefully before the war began. Yes, Chen confirmed. We told you from the beginning, we don't want to conquer anyone. We don't want to dominate anyone. We just want to be part of this community as equals. The war was tragic and unnecessary, but if the price of peace is that we simply go back to our original request, then that's a price we're willing to accept. Calvex stared at her in disbelief. You could demand anything. We are in no position to refuse. Our fleet is shattered. Our allies are demoralized. You hold 200,000 of our people. You could take half our territory and we couldn't stop you. We could, Chen agreed, but we won't, because that's not who we are. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes and optical sensors of dozens of species. Let me tell you what we really are. We're the survivors of 10,000 years of warfare. We're the species that developed nuclear weapons and chose not to use them to extinction. We're the civilization that nearly destroyed itself and decided to do better. She activated another holographic display, showing Earth's history. Images of ancient battles, medieval sieges, world wars, nuclear standoffs. Every human alive today is descended from survivors, not conquerors, not victims, survivors who learned that cooperation is stronger than competition, that mercy is wiser than cruelty, that peace is worth fighting for. The images shifted to show the United Nations building, the first colony ships leaving Earth, the moment of first contact with Council Scouts. When we met you, we saw an opportunity, a chance to be part of something larger than ourselves, a chance to contribute to galactic peace rather than human conflict. So we hid our weapons. We downplayed our capabilities. We tried to join you as friends, and we rejected you, Calvex said quietly. We treated you as primitives in need of guidance. We tried to force you into subservience. Yes, Chen acknowledged. And when you did, we had a choice. We could have revealed everything immediately. We could have struck first, eliminated potential threats, established dominance through fear. But we didn't. We warned you 3 times. We gave you every opportunity to reconsider. Only when you declared war did we stop holding back. She looked directly at Calvex. And even then, even in the midst of total warfare, we held back. We didn't use our planet-killer weapons. We didn't deploy our most devastating technology. We fought to win, but we fought to preserve life. Because that's what our 10,000 years of warfare taught us. Winning is meaningless if you become a monster in the process. The chamber was absolutely silent now. Every representative was listening with complete attention. So here are our real terms, Chen continued. We want full council membership. We want to be treated as equals. And in exchange, we offer our experience. We'll teach you what we've learned about warfare, about conflict resolution, about maintaining peace when peace is difficult. We'll share our technology, our tactics, our hard-won wisdom, not as conquerors but as partners. And if we refuse? Takora asked quietly.